Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're looking at Forward to the Sky. This is a 2015 game from what I would classify as an indie, probably Japanese company, as the two or three games that they have made since this are all Japanese inspired, and we are playing as a chibi female knight in this character. You may take note that there is absolutely no text at all on the screen and minimal controller support on the main menu, so I'm gonna use the mouse. That certainly makes for some weirdness, though. Like, I don't, without text, really know what a mouse versus a camera going in opposite directions. I guess that's inverted camera control instead of regular camera control. And then I assume this is the default button. You don't really know what button even starts the game. It's this one, I think. Uh, I assume these are just CG images. Finally found some text. Legend has it that in the Sky Tower lived a witch. She was horrid-looking and evil. Everyone feared her. The witch seized all the crystals and attacked the people of the Sky Tower. Some were lucky enough to escape the tower, and they passed down their tragic story. The Sky Tower has recently emerged from the clouds. A young princess, so not just a knight, but a princess, took it upon herself to expel the evil witch from the Sky Tower and return the crystals to her people. See, and I was going to call her a princess, but I didn't want to immediately jump to the assumption that every female lead in anything that is even slightly cartoony is a princess, but tends to be the case. This is somewhat of a half asset flip, half indie game, um, in the sense that you're going to see a lot of 3D models and open skyboxes that, if this wasn't an indie game, you would, at least in modern time, call a low effort game that doesn't have enough visual, like, modeling and texture and design. But for the time that it was still within the realm of something you would call an indie game, and you can see in the actions here that there was someone here at least trying to teach themselves some animation, because you have a character that can move, that has a different animation, or at least these are promising different animations if you press space versus shift, and then a whole combo system on the mouse that seems to be more complicated than you would expect, for sure. And I think that's pretty much all the setup I can say, other than to say that while this game is very kid friendly looking, and probably is very kid friendly in general, the developer apparently gave up, and they, either their next project or the project after their next project, was a game called Panty Party, where you play as a personified pair of underwear, Japanese underwear, running around. I think mostly just playing tag, and it is more of a joke game than a fully thought through video game experience. Here we can see that there's going to be 6 levels, and I imagine this won't be very long. I'm going to try to play with the controller, and we're getting the same dialogue, so we're getting windy sound effects in the background, and we'll have to see if this can detect the controller well. It is detecting the controller, but it is a Japanese layout of the confirm buttons, in that for an Xbox 360 controller, the A button is down, the downward button, the on the left, as it were, and the B button is the rightward button on the right. And because in English you read left to right, and in Japanese you do the exact opposite, so the A button on at least original Nintendo setups were uh, the A button on the right and the B button on the left. or the confirm button on the PlayStation often was the button on the right versus the button on the left. But actually, in this case, it was the X button that went forward. So that's even more weird. Princess must seek out the scattered fragments of crystals hidden inside monsters and angel statues. 100 crystal fragments are hidden in each level of Sky Tower. Every set of 33 crystal fragments will form one section of the memory of the tower's history. Each search for the statues, defeat the monsters, collect the crystal fragments, and uncover the story of Sky Tower. So it is a collectathon platformer.
Hurry forward a step. Quickly find the witch before other people get to her.
So, yeah, you have here some voice acting that sounds like it's trying to be fairly kid friendly. Here you have the princess in a chibi anime style. They're not trying to show a ton of skin or anything like that. And they're trying to just have a kind of cool character. And this is what I mean about what a modern game you would call a little bit low effort, in the fact that you are just in a skybox and they've contrived the story to make a skybox, where modern games would have just given invisible walls or big open areas. It would have been fairly easy to have a just randomly generated forest floor and have you climb up at specific starting points, and even then open up the door to having checkpoints. Now, I just pressed the A button thinking I'd attack, and it didn't do it. So, X is attack, A is jump. You don't have a double jump. You do have some, like, air resistance physics, but not a ton on the cell shaded game graphics and hair. B is back. Y is a forward swing. So you have kind of a swing from the right hand with X. Y swings is a back swing. The camera is with the right stick. But when you fall, you just get reset. We've just found out. And I imagine there will be some more checkpoints. There definitely feels like there's a situation here where you're going to potentially, you can't swing while you are in the air, and while you can hit some rocks and knock them around, you're not really getting sound effects back on that, and that took out a level of health on me. Apparently I have 1,000 crystal health that don't get recovered with crystals. Interesting. I think I literally hurt myself by getting squashed by a road. Yeah, I did. I got squashed by a rock and hurt myself. It's
Light from the crystals is radiating inside the statue. Break it open and collect some crystals.
it's
If the legend is true, I should be able to learn the history of the Sky Tower from the crystals.
a game like this would almost certainly be a cell phone game these days, and these graphics don't look asset flipped a ton. Like, for sure, you could pre-buy tiles, you can pre-buy bricks, columns, things like that, but this character, I've never seen this character uniquely look like this in any other game. While the base model might have been reused, the statue here doesn't seem like it's a non-unique thing. Interesting, it drops a sword, but you don't do anything with it. Also, the camera is not following me, so let's see if I can switch over to this and see what that does. Like, it definitely does feel like this is a a more of a video game for a cell phone than a PC version. And I'm not really sure if there ever was a mobile version. Inherently, a game like this probably is the amount of effort you can expect from an indie developer. But there are just so many people out there that pretend like they're indie developers when they are not. Or they are independent in the fact that they may not have a publishing company, but then they are not independent in the fact that they have secret venture capitalists.
Are there clues inside the crystals? This way, I'll be the hero who defeats the witch. Who would dare call me a troublemaking princess? Wicked!
So you can kind of immediately tell that this princess is not really the good guy in the story. She's come to an area she did not need to go to, and she is.
What is it? The voice is coming from inside the crystals?
Yeah, the thought.
Looks like I can move this box.
We're getting a lot of dialogue. I imagine we stop having dialogue fairly quickly. But yeah, if people escaped with their lives previously, then they should just be happy to move on with their lives and not come back and seek some form of revenge, which is basically all you could expect to have happen. This is interesting to have boxes with handprints on them. Well, you think that is going to be enough, or is this supposed to be much more complicated? Because there's a lot of boxes here. And it feels definitely like you should have a double jump at some point. This really does feel like the kind of game you should expect from an indie developer, though. Like, totally. There should be no question around it. Can I jump up? Oh yeah, I can, so we could potentially get the physics on this to work better. And then if we use the walls as our set places, it will help us move forward. Although I'm not sure it really is worth your effort to go through all of that. You get just a quick smack to kill these characters. 2 hits. Which that's somewhat reasonable, probably because there probably isn't ever going to be an upgrade. Then I suppose nothing more to do with these cubes unless there's a complicated secret solution to some further puzzle later on, which might be the case. I've turned down the audio quite a lot in this game, as I do in most games, which I kind of agree with, frankly, because this music is a little incessant. It loops the same few notes, it feels like, fairly often. These enemies have a weird attack to them. in which they're shooting a ball upward and then it kind of bounces towards you. A ball of dark energy. But yeah, if you were trying to train up a new company, a simplistic platformer where you just needed to get animations to attack and the attack going up and down stairs even are animations that often give people trouble. This is a decent thought. Of course, you're going to have a very generic game at the end of that, and I think that's really what we have here. Is I've taken a massive amount of damage. I'm going to have to be much more careful. If it's going to start bouncing me backwards, I can't just power forward. And swinging actually slows me down.
The voice has vanished? Oh no. The voice popped out of nowhere and gave me a fright. Good thing no one saw my stupidity. Otherwise, how embarrassing. I can't. I won't be afraid.
See, and this whole language feels very like there should be a Japanese language option somewhere here. And I'm not seeing that. Switching the controls on the camera did work. I will say that now it is feeling more in line with what I would expect. Okay. So we've got to cross over at some point and jump down, like here. It feels like those two platforms basically.
Witch, will you show yourself? Come out. I'm not afraid of you.
See, it seems like she's just telling her to go away. She's hardly sending out enemies trying to attack her or anything. Oops. And that resets you to a checkpoint. Which that's an interesting checkpoint, to have a floating balloon and then the balloon just drops you where you are. But we seemingly have no system to evolve the or improve your health and increase your health in any way. Alright, well, that probably should go that way. That there is always a danger of games like this. Well, that was a random double jump, first of all, but
Leave this town. I won't run away. I'm not afraid of you.
you're not dying.
The witch? Everyone will praise me. Yes, it's like this. I'm not just any troublemaking princess. Wow. Go.
So, yeah. There, we got another weird double jump. There. Right at the same spot. You don't take damage when you fall, so you can just fall willy-nilly. And honestly, I would say the sensitivity on the controller stick is a little bit oversensitive. That was not a random double jump, that was me literally double jumping. These skeletons in bigger form definitely look like they're pre-made assets. Without the crystals on them, they do look very generic. This is a game I have seen that speedrunners play, so there is a level of there is a level of challenge in the speedrunning aspects. Apparently I am completely dead, so I have to just reset the whole game, the whole level.
Hurry forward a step. Quickly find the witch before other people get to her.
So, do you want to fight the people? Or do you want to ignore the people?
Light from the crystals is radiating inside the statue. Break
I
it
mean, you're
open.
just going to be incessant with the audio, particularly on the first level.
Should be able to learn the history of the Sky Tower from the crystals.
Right. And the smoothest action would be to just walk forward and jump if you're going to potentially get hit. You wouldn't want to
Where's the
try and do something crazy. Like in theory, you could try to backflip, and that backflip probably would move you further.
Who would dare call me a troublemaking princess?
Like she literally is a troublemaker. And yeah, there's just some fairly awkward controlling going on here.
Inside the crystals? It looks like we can move this box.
There's too much dialogue all happening at the same time for a average player. This does kind of feel like it probably was targeted towards younger kids, both in story and visuals, but then I don't think there's actually enough I don't think there's actually enough difficulty adjustment here for a young kid to play a game like this. This is just not easy enough. I, in all fairness, would have had a lot more health had I managed to get through the secret area without, not the secret area, but the, haven't yet to find a secret area. There might be some secret areas, but, am I supposed to be breaking every single column here? It feels like you could definitely have expanded on a concept around the game like this and had them intentionally want you to be able to break a lot of things. But mostly this just looks like these are programmers and animators teaching themselves how to do like physics and destruction. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if this company has been unnamed as a third-party support company. We can dash forward with the Y button, but I don't know if even that's faster. And this pattern seems fairly random. Like, if either side opens up, it is not long enough for you to actually get there to the end. So, more than likely you're supposed to do something like this. But I still took damage. It seems like there might be a slightly central path here you can take to get through there.
The voice has vanished?
Yeah, I don't know why you would comment.
The voice popped out of nowhere and gave me a fright. Good thing no one saw my stupidity. Otherwise, how embarrassing.
Destroying these columns is not...
I won't be afraid.
It's not giving you anything, though. And it definitely feels like a better polished version of a game like this would let you regain some health one way or another. Let's see.
Witch, will you show yourself? Come out. I'm not afraid of you.
One jump. One jump. No phantom jump that time. Maybe I was just holding the button too long.
You won't run away. I'm not afraid of you. If I defeat the witch, everyone will praise me. Ah, yes, it's like this.
Yeah, it does seem like
Any trouble making friends
it is.
Go.
It is. It does seem like a case of potentially maybe the skeleton here is invincible. About almost jumped off the edge. Do I have to kill all the minions? And then that kills that guy? And see, we can start to see the combo here. But that massively took out a ton of health. And that makes me feel like this guy is probably just immortal. And only the ones with crystals can be defeated. Okay. So, let's go this way. See, this would be a great point for you to get your health back. It would also be fairly nice to allow you to simply save your progress. It, to me, seems like there's literally 100 crystals at most in this level. I'm not sure I even believe there's 100 crystals. Just gonna jump over these.
The voice has vanished again.
Hmm.
Are you hiding? Yes, you're afraid
Hmm.
of me. Witch, you're hiding now, but I will find you.
And if she's hearing voices, there's definitely half a thought there that the witch that she's hearing might be in her own head. Or even if the witch is real, there's not a lot of indication here to believe that the witch is the bad guy. Now, do you get a solid 25 every time? Yes. Okay. Now, I can't jump over. Also, there's no ledge climbing or anything like that. So unless there was some trick here, we are in a kind of bad position. Like, I can't really push it, because if I push it, I'll take damage. I can try and sideways jump it. There we go. Almost took damage there. And I feel like I probably would have died had I taken damage. And so you just get another thing. And it gave me 2 achievements, which you'd almost argue that this is possibly an achievement game, but I don't think that's the case. So we got 100. As long as the princess advances to the sky tower, she'll uncover the truth through the crystals. Long ago, the peoples mined crystals from the sky tower and lived a prosperous lives. Here you have a baby character in the image. But the people overmined the crystals, and gradually the mines became depleted. Some only bore a few crystals, while others produced none at all. It was during these hard times that a peculiar little girl was born. Curiously, crystals grew out of her body, and people were aghast. To what? mine crystals out of the body of a little girl. That sounds grotesque. And then you have to select here. Alright. Well, we'll hit X and then let's see. So we got all of one story, but there does seem like there's a decent chance that we won't be able to get all of the other story. If you're going to play this more and more, I feel like you probably would want to turn down the audio of the music, but it doesn't seem like you really can. You can adjust, I think, the speed of the camera, but I haven't so far run into an issue with the speed of the camera. That menu is a little bit weird and how that worked. And so we've unlocked level 2. If we were to go back and try and do level 1, I don't know if there's... I'm hitting all the buttons to see if I can skip. You can definitely feel how this game is not really something that has been designed for a controller. There's no left triggers. There's no right triggers. 100 crystal fragments in each level. And 33 are needed for each fragment of memory. Now that we read that a second time. Yeah. You can pretty much tell why small games like these might catch a speedrunner's attention as a game that's fairly new and easy to learn on. There's very limited levels here. Not a lot going on as far as wild randomness. These characters, they're kind of sliding along. See how their legs aren't moving? So they didn't have a full animation. They kind of don't even lock onto you from a far distance. They're way easy to defeat. There's relatively little in the way of side areas or side quest areas, which makes the whole experience fairly linear. There's a lot of levels here that I imagine if I was able to jump to any of these platforms, I would probably just clip right through the floor. Yep, there the camera is running into the staircase.
Light from the crystals is radiating inside the statue. Break it open and collect some crystals. If the legend
I
is
wonder
true, I should be able to learn the history of the Sky Tower from the crystals.
if there is possibly a case where if you got no crystals, you might get an achievement. That'd be fairly difficult in most games, not super difficult here. All I'd have to do is literally just speedrun it. Of course, if I was going to do that, I would have to come and, man, it's just easier to use this. Yeah, cell phone buttons, lack of trigger controls.
Hurry forward a step. Quickly find the witch before other people get to her.
Yep. Yeah, nothing's going to inherently force you to collect a crystal. You could play a pure pacifist mode. And just run. And you'll almost certainly going to... Nope, I just collected 3 crystals. So what just gave me 3 crystals? Did some enemy fall off the ground? Yeah, if you were here, you would have taken damage. There very well may be a achievement for trying to beat the whole level without taking damage also. I imagine they may have thrown in a decent number of achievements here to try and flesh out what will be a shorter game. But honestly, with the shortness of a game like this, I don't know if there's a lot of motivation to try and play it long enough to get all the achievements. Yep. So we'll follow that way and see if we get 3 more crystals. Never did find a pattern that quite worked there. Yeah, it would be fairly difficult. I'm really surprised that there isn't a Japanese language here. This definitely makes me think that this is probably a reskin or a localization of a Japanese game. Because normally speaking, you wouldn't... You wouldn't have this level of dialogue in the way it feels like it's being translated from Japanese. Of course, when I say Japanese, I'm saying potentially any language that is like Japanese. So it might also be Chinese, might also be Korean. I would heavily suspect though that this in this case was Japanese. And once again, I got like six gems. Hmm. 6 gems, and potentially you could leave the whole level with 100% health. I think they've also probably intentionally made this so that you cannot fall down to any location that you haven't been before. But let's see what happens if we fall in general. Well, if you fall in general, you land without taking any damage. And so then the question becomes, where does that place you? Well, it places you to whatever checkpoint is closest to where you were standing. So that could be fairly annoying too. Yep, and once again, touchscreen buttons with no consideration. Alright, well, these episodes clearly won't be that long. I've stretched this out by playing the same level twice. They may get slightly more difficult, but I think fairly quickly here we will have all of the story fragments, and it seems like it's pretty easy to get all of the story, and we'll play through the whole game. There is, I am fairly certain, a boss fight at the end, but I imagine that is potentially the only boss fight, unless I'm thinking of a different game, which I might be, because let's face it, it is a fairly generic concept. But way better, I will say, than some other low effort games we've seen on Steam where they have like no intention of ever learning how to make a game. So they either make badly animated visual novels that are often badly written too, or they're making jigsaw puzzle games, or they're making slide puzzle games, or single screen Unity puzzle games, where even a single screen Unity puzzle game might teach you a little bit about making a game. It certainly isn't going to teach you about animating 3D models and characters and having attack animations, or really audio and ambient audio noise and interactive or reactive audio sounds. Most games are either first person or third person, and while I'm not saying that we should dismiss anything that isn't a first or third person game, a company in general needs to be able to make a game from those perspectives, and not just tabletop games and simplistic things. A lot of times you see slide puzzles games selling by themselves, when a slide puzzle is really a sub mini game that should be in a bigger experience. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.